Hello, and today we're going to read I Am a Bee, one of our favorite pollinators, the bee. This is written by Rebecca and James McDonald. I am a bee. I am a bee. There are many types of bees. I'm a honeybee. I collect sweet nectar from flowers so I can make delicious honey. I also help plants make seeds through pollination. I am part of a colony with a whole bunch of other honeybees. We're like one big family that works really hard together. My colony lives in a hive that is made of wax and a special bee glue called propolis. Our hive is our house. Sometimes we like to build hives in trees, fallen logs, caves, or even between rocks. Choosing a safe place to build the hive is really important. There are lots of animals around that would love to eat bees or gobble up our honey. In a colony, every bee has a job to do. First, there's the queen bee. Her job is to make eggs. Next are the drone bees. Their job is to help the queen bee make eggs. Last, but not least, are the worker bees. That's what I am. And we have a wonderful whole bunch of jobs to do. As a young bee, my first jobs were to keep the hive clean and feed and take care of the colony. Luckily, worker bees are really good at working together and helping each other. As I grew, so did my jobs. Once my body was able to make wax, I became a builder. I made sure there were enough rooms for all of the baby bees and extra space to store lots of pollen and nectar that would be made into honey. By flapping our wings or vibrating our bodies, worker bees keep the hive at a perfect temperature, not too hot and not too cold. So wax can be shaped, glue can be spread, and honey can be made. Worker bees guard and protect the hive and the colony inside. As a guard, I had to be on the lookout for other insects and animals that might want to steal honey and damage the hive. Now that I'm older, I have a new job. I'm a forager. Bees usually never leave the hive unless there's an emergency or if they're foraging to find food and water. Being a forager is really important. I fly away looking for patches of blooming flowers that have lots of delicious pollen and sweet nectar. Nectar is a sugary juice, and pollen is a yellow dust. They're both my favorite foods. I crawl inside a flower and load up as much as I can carry. I have a special pouch in my stomach for carrying nectar, and I have pollen baskets on both of my back legs for when I'm carrying extra pollen. Pollen is really sticky, and I always end up covered in it. That makes plants happy because when I fly to the next flower, I drop pollen, which helps plants make seeds. Scientists call this pollination. Lots of seeds mean more vegetables, fruits, and pretty flowers for everyone. If I come across a big patch of flowers, I fly back to the hive and tell the other foragers how to find it by doing the honeybee waggle dance. Round and round I go, wiggling and waggling. Storing lots of honey for winter is really important. When it's cold, honeybees stay inside the hive, eating the stored honey and flying close together in a big, tight circle to keep warm. We make enough honey to last the winter and to share with people just like you. Scientists say bees like me are really helpful to people because we move pollen from plant to plant. We're part of the reason there are so many delicious fruits, vegetables, and nuts to choose from at the grocery store. Foragers fly all over the place. Sometimes that can cause us big problems. When we fly into places where people have sprayed chemicals to get rid of other bugs, it makes us get sick too. Chemicals can also drift into our hive, making it an unhealthy place to live. People can help bees by not using chemicals that make bees sick. You can help by sharing what you've learned about honeybees with family, friends, and in your classroom. The end. Hi, it's Mrs. Cruse here, and today I want to talk to you all about some of our insect friends, in particular, the insect friends known as pollinators, and also some mammals. Okay, so we're going to start with one of our favorite pollinators, and that would be a bee. This is my little bee puppet. I don't know of any bees quite this large, but a bee. And let's talk about honeybees in particular. Honeybees are, well, let's just say there's thousands of pollinators. Beetles, even mosquitoes are pollinators. Bees are special. Bees are specially designed to be terrific pollinators. They have fuzzy legs and wings, and they can all collect pollen as a bee visits flower to flower looking for food in the form of pollen and nectar. It's down in those flowers, and it's going to gather and get pollen on its legs, on its wings, on its belly. And as it moves to another flower, it can drop some of that pollen. And that helps that flower make its seeds, make its fruits, make its vegetables. So it's very, very important to have our pollinator friends in the garden, because plants can't walk around, can they? So they depend on many of our pollinator friends. Okay? Another great pollinator friend we might have visit us in the garden is going to be a butterfly. Beautiful butterflies come visit our garden, and they too visit our flowers, and they have a long tongue. It's called a proboscis, and it unrolls and it reaches deep inside of the flowers, and they too are collecting some nectar, and in that process getting pollen all over their antennae and their bodies. So just let's take a little closer look at the butterfly life cycle. So the mother butterfly will lay eggs. Typically it'll be on the underside of some leaves, and then the larva will hatch. The larva in the form of a caterpillar. Here we have another puppet. Again, these caterpillars aren't quite this large. Now, they like to feed on different plants, so you might find different types of caterpillars on different plants. How about if you took a bite of an apple, and oh my goodness, inside was a caterpillar? Well, that is more likely is going to be from a moth. So we don't like to have caterpillar in our apple. But outside on our plants, they continue to grow and get big and fat, and then they will pupate. So they will form a chrysalis. And this is where they go through complete metamorphosis and change into our adult form that you know as the beautiful butterfly. So here we have our caterpillar, and it will change into a beautiful butterfly. Okay, this is one, I want to show you a picture. This is one of our frequent visitors. This is a year-round butterfly here in Houston. This is the Gulf fritillary. So this would be the adult Gulf fritillary. And this is what its larva, its caterpillar looks like. And it does look a little spiky, so that might look a little scary to you. But they're actually very soft. He's just trying to look scary because that's his defense mechanism to keep things like birds from eating him. And you will find this little guy on one of our native plants called the passion vine. There's many different types of passion vine, but we do have a native one here. It's going to have some purple flowers. They're very unusual looking flowers. But if you see this little guy, just know that one day you'll have lots of these beautiful gold fritillary butterflies. We also have hummingbirds that visit us here in our Houston gardens. They are also great pollinators. They have a long beak, and that's specially designed to be able to reach deep inside of a flower, getting nectar, and again, getting pollen all over their wings and their bodies. And as they move from flower to flower, they're dropping that pollen. So beautiful little hummingbirds. Always fun to catch in our garden. We also have bats. Bats are pollinators. Now this puppet is a large fruit bat. So these are the bats that we would find in tropical regions of the world, say a rainforest. Okay, so as they go to eat big fruits on large fruit-bearing trees, they too get into the pollen and spread pollen from tree to flower, okay? But here in the Houston area, the one you'll most often see is actually called a Mexican free-tail bat, and they eat lots of insects. So the bat, though this particular bat is not a pollinator, it is fabulous at eating lots of flying insects. Can you think of a flying insect that we don't care for? Sure, lots of them, but mainly mosquitoes. So these little guys can eat their weight in mosquitoes every night. So they're very important to us here. So a few of the others that we possibly can find in our gardens. We talked about the bee, a fly. Yes, flies visit flowers and can be pollinators. Beetles, there's lots of different types of beetles. They also can be pollinators. And moths. Though a lot of the moths have caterpillars that eat a lot of our vegetables and fruits, but they are pollinators, and they are mostly active at night. So just be aware that there's thousands of pollinators. So what are some of the things that you could do to invite pollinators to your garden? Well, you can plant lots of different types of plants, lots of flowers to give them lots of shapes and sizes and colors to choose from. Make sure that you don't use harsh chemicals in your garden. These could harm our bee friends, our pollinator friends, our butterfly friends. You can provide water, a water source, maybe put it out a little hole or have a bird bath to provide water for our friends. And maybe grow some tall grasses or some shrubs to provide shelter for our pollinator friends. So I hope that you can go out in the garden and explore. Perhaps get yourself a hand lens. And I'm going to put on my explorer hat. And I'm going to head to the garden and see if I can find some pollinators. I hope to see you out there.